कृपाभरौ भुवि भुव भारा वहन्तारकौ वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ कृष्ण कीर्तन गान कृष्ण कीर्तन गान नर्तन परम प्रेम मृगाम्बरी वीर वीर जन प्रिय प्रिय करो निर्माण पूजितम श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरौ श्री चैतन्य कृपा भरौ भुवि भुव भाराव अंतरकौ वन्दे रूप सनातन रघुजुगौ श्रीजीव गोपालकौ विचारणैक निपुणौ सद्धर्म संस्थापकौ लोकानां जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी Radha Krishna Ko Gopnath Sam Kund Radha Kund Giri Jai. Navan Dham ki Jai, Navadip Dham ki Jai, Ganga Mai ki Jai, Jamuna Mai ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the Express. All glories to the Express. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, are you there, please? You can start.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
Hi. So my obeisances also. All glories to Gurudev and glories to Prabhupada.
All glories to you, Maharaj. Please, you can start.
Narayana namaskritya narayana narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraya nashtaprayashva bhadresu nityam bhagavatam sevaya bhagavati uttamasloke bhakti bhavati naistiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, verse 44. Sarahasyo danu veda savisa gopasamyamaha astragramascha bhavataha shikshato yat anugrahat sarahasyo danu veda savisa gopasamyamaha astragramascha bhavataha shikshato yat anugrahat sarahasyo danu veda savirsha gopa samyamaha astragramascha bhavata shikshito yat anugrahat. Word for word translation. Rahasya, confidential. Dhanuveda, knowledge in the art of manipulating bows and arrows. Sarah. Let's see. Sarah, something I can see. My thing is also opening. A minute. I'm opening my. Okay. The picture is covering the words I can see, and my thing is delaying to open. My tablet delaying to open.
Is it what?
You know, the picture is covering the words. I cannot see the words up there.
Okay.
Yeah, on my
Your
screen,
picture?
my picture is covering that, and my tablet is not opening. My tablet, I can read from. So
Oh, okay. Sorry for that. I was.
Okay. A minute.
Is it covering it now? Maybe you should go. You should go.
Raise a little bit up. Raise a little bit up. Just one line up. Okay, too much. Okay. Again, yeah. So we have Sa Visharga releasing, Opa Samyamaha controlling, Astra weapons, Gramaha all kinds of, Cha and, Bhavataha, you have to raise it up. By yourself, Shishataha Lenet, yet by whose? Anugrahat mercy. Translation and purport. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. Report. The no Veda or military science was taught by Dronacharya with all its confidential secrets of throwing and controlling by Vedic hymns. Gross military science is dependent on material weapons. But finer than that is the art of throwing the arrows saturated with Vedic hymns, which act more effectively than gross material weapons like machine guns or atomic bombs. The control is by Vedic mantras or the transcendental science of sound. It is said in the Ramayana that Maharaj Dasarat, the father of Lord Ram, Lord Sri Ram, used to control arrows by sound only. He could pierce his target with his arrow by only hearing the sound without seeing the object, by only hearing the sound without seeing the object. So this is a finer military science than that of the gross material military weapons used nowadays. Arjuna was taught all this, and therefore Draupadi wished that Arjuna feel obliged to Acharya Drona for all these benefits. And in the absence of Dronacharya, his son was his representative. That was the opinion of the good lady Draupadi. It may be argued why Dronacharya, a rigid Brahmana, should be a teacher in military science. But the reply is that a Brahmana should become a teacher, regardless of what his department of knowledge is. A learned Brahmana should become a teacher, a priest, a recipient of charity. A bona fide Brahmana is authorized to accept such professions. Again, Sarahasyo Dharno Veda Savishargo Pashamya Maha Astra Gramascha Bhavataha Sikshuto Yat Anugrahat. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. Om Jnana Timiridasya Jnanan Jnanashalakaya Chakshuramali Tamyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Nadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yukta Padakamalam Sri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunastam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Scha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Tirtha Swamini Tinamini Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashritatmane Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Tinamini Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvesesa Suyavadi Pasachade Satarini Vanchakalpatarvyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gaura Twize Namaha Nityanando Vatutendur Vasuda Pranavarabaha Janavir Givita Patina Krishna Prema Prabhu Padmavati Sutta Srimam Sachirananda Purvajaha Bhavam Mata Jagat Rakta Rakta Gaura Kale Varaha Advaitam Harinadvaita Racharyam Bhakti Shamshanat Bhaktavatanamitam Shamadvaita Acharya Ashraye Panchatattvamakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanavaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajagraye Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanahitaya Cha Jagarditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Shamamiva paro rasa purimadu purivaraha vaya kaishorikam dhyayam adi paro rasa. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopita Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Surato Pango Mama Madirgati Matsarvaswa Padam Pujo Radha Madana Mohano Divyat Vendaranya Kalpadrumada Srimat Radnadgara Simhas Tanustao Sri Sri Radha Srila Govinda Devo Pristyali Bisevya Manos Marami Shrimam Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karusan Venu Swanai Gopi Gopinata Sri Estunaha Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Brindavanishwari Rishabhanu Soja Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation again. It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. Ukam karoti vachalam pangam lagayet green yat kripatamahan vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramanam Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram Akanda Mandalakram Vyapta Yena Characharam Tatpadam Dashitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So we'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. And for today's class, we are looking at the verse where Draupadi is speaking. Draupadi is telling his very powerful husband, Arjuna, that it was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned the military art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. So, Draupadi is indirectly glorifying Dronacharya, that if not for the mercy of Dronacharya, Arjuna, and for that matter, the Pandavas, could not have learned the science of military practice, technically called Danu Veda. Because everything we want to learn in this world, we must learn it from an acharya. We must learn it from a teacher. That is part of this material life. Everything has to be learned from someone who knows. Tattvavid. Tattvavid means one who knows the truth. So Draupadi is glorifying Dronacharya for his excellence in the knowledge of Dhanurveda and his kindness by imparting that knowledge to the Pandavas, which resulted in Arjuna becoming an expert also. So Draupadi is reminding Arjuna that he should remember that and spare the life of Ashwatthama. So it is mentioned that this Dhanurveda is part of the Vedic knowledge. Mimamsa Shastro Hastu Jyoti Netra Pahi Titam Ayurveda Prishto Desho Dhanurveda Ura Statum. That the Mimamsa Sutras is said to be the hand of the personified Vedas. The Jyotir Veda, which is the science of astrology, is said to be the eyes of the personified Veda. Ayurveda, which is the knowledge of medicine, the knowledge of herbs, is said to be the backside of the Vedas personified. And Dhanurveda, which is military science, is said to be the chest of the Vedas personified. Just as the Kshatriyas are the arms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, so Dhanurveda is the chest of the personified Vedas. The chest is always in the front, and anything that is thrown at the person hits the chest first. So the knowledge of Vedas, the knowledge of the Dhanurveda, is actually meant to protect the entire human society. And this knowledge is said to be divided into 4 divisions. In this verse, Draupadi is mentioning the art of throwing arrows and the confidential art of controlling weapons. There is also the art of learning mantras and the art of issuing mantras. So all these constitute Dhanurveda. And this knowledge cannot be learned from someone who does not know. So therefore, Draupadi is reminding Arjuna that no matter what Ashwatthama has done, but they have to appreciate the fact that this knowledge that you know now, and you're able to counteract the Brahmastra that Ashwatthama released, is simply due to the help, the mercy of Dronacharya. And therefore, no matter what, they owe Dronacharya some respect because they learned that science of Dhanuveda from him. It is interesting how the Dhanuveda came to Dronacharya. It is mentioned in one of the Puranas how the son of Gautama Muni, the son of Gautama Muni is called Sharadvan, because later he was also called Gautama. He was named after the father. But the name the father gave him is Sharadvan. Why this name? Because when he was born along with arrows. He came out of his mother's womb with arrows in his hand. So Saradwan means the possessor of arrows. So the father named him that way. So as Saradwan grew up, even though his father is a Brahmana, a sage who was interested in studying the Vedas, religious aspect of the Vedas, Sharadwan did not have interest in studying the religious aspect of the Vedas. His only interest was in studying the Dhanuveda, the military science of the Vedas. And so he performed great austerities, continuous austerities, with the goal of mastering in this Dhanuveda. So it is said that due to his severe austerities for a long time, he became very acknowledged, very expert in the science of the Dhanuveda. And when he had attained perfection in this knowledge of Dhanuveda, then Shraddhavan became an enemy of Indra, because he started attacking Indra with the knowledge, with the expertise that he had gained from that austerity and learning of Dhanuveda. So he troubled Indra to the point that Indra had to send down one of his apsaras, Jalapadi. He has to send one of his apsaras called Jalapadi to try to break the austerities of Sharadwan. So Sharadwan was in his hermitage, performing his austerities and meditating and studying his Dhanuveda. And then all of a sudden, Jalapadi appeared before him. And she was such a beautiful apsara. And just to entice Sharadwan from his path of austerity, just to break his vow of wanting to learn more and more of this Dhanuveda in order to trouble Indra, she dressed very scantily. And so much of her bodily parts were shown. And so she made some noise, and when Srvas opened his eyes, he beheld the beauty of this Apsara, who was half naked. And immediately his body went through some transformations. Seeing this beautiful nymph from the heavens, this Apsara from the heavens, improperly dressed, Srvas went through some transformation. His body became emotional. But because of his long time austerity and in-depth knowledge, he was able to withstand the temptations of this celestial lady. But because his body went through some emotional transformation, he discharged semen. And the semen dropped on a clump of grass. And Srvas, he left his hermitage, he left his ashram. He dropped his bows and arrows and left the ashram, dropped his deer skin and left the ashram and went somewhere else. But the drop of semen touching the grass, the clump of grass, divided into two. And out of those two drops, twins were born, a male and a female, Kripa Acharya and Kripi. So, they were left in the forest hunting with the soldiers. And they came across, one of the soldiers came across these beautiful twins, girl and a boy, lying in the forest. So he immediately went and reported to the king what he had seen. And the king took mercy. He expressed his compassion upon these beautiful children, and he took them home. And he gave him, and then noticing that there was a black deer skin nearby, he understood that these children must have come from a Brahmana, a sage. So therefore he engaged the children in religious rituals at home. He brought them up very nicely, and then he named them Kripa and Kripi, which means out of mercy, he had adopted them. Out of mercy, he had brought them to the palace. And so he brought them up as his own children. But later on, Srvas, due to his spiritual development, due to his austerities, due to the insight of the knowledge he gained, he understood that he had discharged some semen when he saw the Apsara, and that semen had broken into two and twins were born. So he traced them to the palace of Santanu, and he told Santanu the birth of those two children. And of course, he claimed fatherhood of these children. And then he taught the 4 branches of Vedas to Kripa. And as a result, this knowledge has come to Dronacharya. And Dronacharya, then he came into Hastinapur with this knowledge, and then he was engaged by Bhishma Dev and the elders of the Kuru dynasty to train the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And of course, it is mentioned that even the Yadus and the Vrishnis and even other kings they all used to come to take lessons from Dronacharya, because he had mastered himself so well in this knowledge of the Veda has come. I actually said that Srvas, the son of Gautama, is the father of Veda. He taught it, he learned it, he became a Paramacharya, and then he taught it to others. And so even though the knowledge is there in the Vedas, but he really mastered it and taught it to others. So Prabhupada is comparing this science of Veda with the modern science of weaponry. Prabhupada is mentioning that it says gross military science is dependent on material weapons, but finer than that is the art of throwing the arrows saturated with Vedic hymns, which act more effectively than gross material weapons like machine guns or atomic bombs. So Veda involves learning mantras and uttering mantras, so which are of a subtle nature. And as we all know, that the gross body, even though we can see and touch the gross body, but the mind, which is more subtle, is superior to the gross body. The mind controls the gross body. So therefore, the subtle science of Veda is much more superior to this gross science of atomic bomb and machine guns, because the machine guns, unless you carry the gun and approach the person face to face, you cannot shoot. And even the bomb, you have to carry the bomb and go and drop it on your targets. But in the case of this Veda, this knowledge of mantras, one can stay in one place and one can chant the mantra and direct the mantra to the target. And the effect will be felt. In fact, it is said that this knowledge of Veda is so specific, is so accurate, that one can chant a mantra to just kill one person, and the mantra will target that one person. Or one can chant a mantra to kill a certain number of people, and the mantra would eliminate that number of people. But with a modern military science, very often innocent people are killed. When a bomb is thrown, it is not only to kill the soldiers who are fighting, but there are also innocent people, animals, trees that are destroyed in an attempt to destroy the enemy. So we can see it is so gross. But in the case of this subtle science, when it is directed to a particular person or a particular target, it goes straight to that particular target. It does not affect other untargeted objects. So these are some of the wonderful advantages of this Veda. And Srila Prabhupada also mentioned that even Dasarat, the father of Lord Ram, he was so expert in this science, in the control of arrows by sound, that he could pierce his object without even seeing the object. So that is the beauty of this science, that one who is expert at it can the object by chanting mantras. In effect, the power of the weapon just through mantras. So therefore, we have to accept that the Danu Veda, the ancient science, military science, is much more superior to this modern gross materialistic military science, which is normally used against the enemy, but that goes along to destroy other innocent or untargeted objects. So that is regarding the superiority of the Danu Veda to the modern military science, because it is operating on a higher, finer level, on the sound level. We know sound, everything in this material world has come from sound, Sabda Brahma. Without sound, there cannot be creation. From sound, the sky has come. From the sky, air has come. From air, fire has come. From fire, water has come. From water, earth has come. So we can see that even the gross material elements that manifest this material world, they're all emanated from sound. So sound is very powerful. Sound is very great. And that is why chanting mantras is important for the sadhaka, especially in this our age of degradation, in this of our age of spiritual poverty. The recommended process is to chant the Vedic hymns, chant the Vedic mantras, and the most appropriate mantra for this age is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And because of this Maha Mantra, the Lord himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has to descend in this world in order to teach the religion of the holy name, in order to demonstrate the importance of this chanting of the holy name. And throughout his life, we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a practitioner of this mantra. He was a practitioner of the holy name. As a young lad,
the network is breaking.
he would chant the holy name. As a grihasta, he would chant the holy name. He would chant the holy name, and the influence of mantras is so crucial that we cannot make any progress. So, Prabhu, you're not hearing me?
Yeah, the line is breaking, but I think we are hearing you now, but the network was breaking initially.
I see.
We can hear you now.
Maybe my internet is, so can I continue? Krishna.
Yes, yes, we are hearing you now. Yeah.
Well, let me change my network and see whether this can. I'm changing my network to see what is better. Hare Krishna, are you hearing me still?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Very clear. Yeah. Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so I was saying that sound vibration is very important. Spiritual sound vibration is important. So we can see that throwing arrows saturated with Vedic hymns, Vedic mantras is much more superior to the ordinary military weapons, military science of this age. And so we should take cue of the fact that chanting the Vedic mantra recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is good for us. And Mahaprabhu himself personally demonstrated the importance of chanting Vedic mantras. In his childhood, in his youth, and in his sannyas life, Mahaprabhu engaged 100% in chanting the holy names of the Lord. So if the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, they are chanting the holy names constantly, why should we not? Even the Supreme Lord himself, who does not need to chant mantras, he is engaged in chanting and dancing daily. So why shouldn't we, conditioned souls, do so? We should follow the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, the Panchatattva, and the close associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada also mentioned in the purport that it may be argued why Dronacharya, a rigid Brahmana, should be a teacher in military science. But the reply is that a Brahmana should become a teacher, regardless of what his department of knowledge is. A learned Brahmana should become a teacher, a priest, a recipient of charity. A bona fide Brahmana is authorized to accept such professions. So, Srila Prabhupada is describing of the Brahmana. It is said that the Brahmana has 6 duties. What are the 6 duties? Patana, yajana, dana, and pratigraha. That means studying the scriptures, patana, and teaching the scriptures. That is a duty of the Brahmana. Yajana and yajana, performing sacrifice for himself and performing sacrifice for others. It is a duty of the Brahmana to perform sacrifice for his own worship and also perform sacrifices for others' worship. And then dana. Dana means receiving charity. A Brahmana should receive charity, but a Brahmana must also give charity. That is called pratigraha. So these are the 6 occupational duties of a Brahmana. Studying the Vedas, teaching the Vedas, performing yagyas for himself, performing yagyas for others, receiving of charity, and distribution of charity. These are the occupational duties of a Brahmana. But in times of emergency, a Brahmana can do the job of a Kshatriya, and he can even do the job of a Vaishya. So here we see that Dronacharya is teaching military science. He's a Brahmana, but why is he teaching military science? Because in times of emergency, he has to step down to teach military science. Dronacharya was a poor Brahmana. In fact, he came to the to Hastinapur, to the Kurus, when he was rejected by his friend Drupada. He and Drupada were friends in Gurukula. They were such intimate friends. They were so close that they made some vows between themselves. And Drupada said, if I friendship. So when Drupada became the king, Dronacharya went to him to remind him of his vow. But King Drupada did not welcome that idea. He sent off his dear friend Dronacharya without any proper reception. He told him that he cannot remember promising to share his kingdom with him, to get out of his kingdom and not trouble him. So out of frustration, and for the fact that he needed money, also he needed some financial or economic support to take care of his wife and his child, he had to accept some employment. So therefore, the scriptures recommend that for a Brahmana, he can step down to do the job of a Kshatriya. And he can even step down to do the job of a Vaishya. He can farm, he can take care of cows, he can trade in grains, but a Brahmana should never become a Sudra. He should not become a servant of others. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here that Dronacharya, a learned Brahmana, should become a teacher, because a bona fide Brahmana is authorized to accept such professions. So of course, he has not very much deviated, because a Brahmana's duty is to study the Vedas and teach the Vedas. So Danu Veda is part of the Vedas. So if he had learned Danu Veda and he's teaching it to the Kauravas and the Pandavas and the Vrishnis and the Yadavas, then he's not deviating from his duty as a Brahmana. So that should also be understood, that in times of emergency, a Brahmana can take the job of a Kshatriya, and can even take the job of a Vaishya. In times of emergency, a Kshatriya can do the job of a Vaishya, but not a Sudra. So therefore, Dronacharya is doing the service of a Kshatriya because of the emergency on the ground. So Srila Prabhupada also mentions that that Draupadi wished that Arjuna feel obliged to Acharya Drona for all these benefits. And in the absence of Drona, Acharya, his son was his representative. So the scriptures also say that the son is the representative of the father. And this example comes to bear in the pastimes of Kandarma Muni and his wife Devahuti. When Kandarma Muni wanted to renounce his household life and entered the forest to meditate on the Supreme Lord, his wife, beautiful wife, Devahuti, approached him and told him that even though you have given me everything that life requires, but you have not given me fearlessness, abaya. So therefore, before you leave, you should give me abaya. And then Kadamamuni understood that he has to leave a son behind. And in fact, Lord Vishnu had told Kadamamuni that he will appear in the womb of his wife as an incarnation to teach the Sankhya philosophy. So therefore, Kadamamuni did not take renunciation immediately. He stayed back. And as a result, Kapila Muni was born. And when Kapila Muni was born, then Devahuti said, now that you have given me a son who represents you, you can now go to your forest. So in other words, the son represents the father. And in fact, in Vedic system, if a man is owing somebody some money, and he dies, the son has to pay because the son represents the father. As the Prabhupada is mentioning, Dronacharya, his son was like his father. So in this way, Draupadi, a very saintly lady, a very pious lady, is teaching moral principles, religious principles to her husband. And we can learn from these instructions of this very wonderful lady, Draupadi, dear devotee of Krishna. So that is what I have to share today. The time is almost up. It's 2 more minutes. So if somebody has some comments to make or some questions based on what we discussed, then we could address them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
And Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Thank you very much for your wonderful lecture and the scholarly presentation. It means that you have done some little more very large research for us. So you'll be giving us all this wonderful information. So you mentioned about Dronacharya, and I have a question. Then Kusha Prabhu also is raising his hand. So you talk about Dronacharya and Drupada when they were in school. As a boy, they were going to the same school. They made promise to each other. He said when they grow up, he will give him half of the kingdom. So, and Dronacharya is supposed to be a Brahmana. So why is it that he becomes so much interested in the kingdom, half of the kingdom, even though he was a Brahmana? Why can't he just tell Drupada to give him something that he can live, that can be enough for him to continue to live his life and take care of his family? Why is he so much interested in half of the kingdom? To the extent that he has to go and train soldiers to go and attack him and collect and humiliate him and all this. So why is he, as a Brahmana, is he supposed to be greedy? I wanted to throw more light on that.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's interesting that a Brahmana is supposed to be satisfied with whatever comes, whatever providence provides for a Brahmana, he should accept it. Yadrichaya Tishto. Lord Vamana Dev mentioned this in the 8th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, a Brahmana who is not satisfied with what comes to him by the arrangement of providence, by the arrangement of destiny, even if you give him the whole 3 worlds, he will never be satisfied. So that is a fact. So Dronacharya approached Drupada for half of the kingdom. So from two angles. From one angle, it may appear that he was greedy. Otherwise, if you just ask for some little thing, just become the advisor to the king while asking for sharing the kingdom with you. But we can also look at it from another angle, that because Drupada had made a promise to a Brahmana, he must fulfill. If he does not fulfill that promise, it becomes an offense, and he will suffer the consequences. So if you look at it from that angle, we can see that Drupada, and we can see that Dronacharya was simply trying to do Drupada a favor because he had promised. And it is said, if you promise a Brahmana, you cannot fail. If you fail, the consequences are very severe. So therefore, Dronacharya was thinking from this angle, that let me go and save my friend from suffering because he has promised me. So that is why he went. But when the friend refused him, and then he reacted by asking his students to go and fight, defeat, and capture Drupada and bring him bound up. That was too much. Yeah, that that kind of highlighted his greed, so to speak, because why do you have to do all this? There was no need. Once he has refused, you just forget about it. But to have organized his disciples to go capture him, bind him up, alive like brought him like an animal, and threw him at the feet of their spiritual master, that was too humiliating. And of course, because of all this, then Drona had to be killed by all these arrangements. It's like destiny had to arrange all these complications to result in the death of Dronacharya. So anyway, a Brahmana should not be greedy. A Brahmana should be satisfied with whatever comes by natural arrangement, by providence. When Brahmana Dev was requested for 3 steps of land, Bali Maharaj wanted to give him a whole planet. Bali Maharaj wanted to give him so much upland, but Brahmana Dev rejected. He said, I only want 3 steps of land. And if I'm not satisfied by these 3 steps of land, even if you give me the 3 wells, I will not be satisfied. So a Brahmana must be satisfied with whatever comes of his own accord, whatever comes by the arrangement of providence, whatever comes by destiny, he should accept it as the Lord's arrangement. Then he can be satisfied. And in fact, Brahmana Dev says also, one who cannot control his mind, he can never be satisfied. So mind control, satisfaction, these are qualities of a Brahmana. A Brahmana must be satisfied with whatever comes his way, and he must control his mind. Otherwise, life becomes very miserable.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Kusha, I have
please.
Your question.
Yes, Prabhu. Kusha Prabhu, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Agisha Maharaj, my humble obeisances. Thank you for your wonderful class. In the paper or translation, Prabhupada mentioned that a Brahmana must teach one of the subjects, any subject of his choice, regardless of any subject he's teaching. But we see in India, some Brahmanas, they don't teach Vedic scripture. They teach other things with the name of their Brahmanas. So, but we find them not being qualified Brahmanas. So I get confused on that because they are also trying to teach whatever they like, according to the verse says.
Yeah, actually, as the scripture says, the Brahmana should study the Vedas, Patana. He studies the Vedas and he teaches the Vedas. That is the standard for a Brahmana. But in times of emergency, then the Brahmana can teach a subject that is lower than this. And that is why Prabhupada is saying here that a learned Brahmana should become a teacher. He should become a priest. And he should become a recipient of charity. So to become a teacher doesn't necessarily mean that a Brahmana should go down into the gutter and do something which is abominable. I remember many years back in Ibadan, when I was in charge of that temple, one Indian gentleman came there from Lagos. He came to spend some few days there, and then he was caught smoking. And then at the back of the temple, so they reported the case to me. I called him, and when I questioned him why he's smoking at the back of the temple, instead of him taking a humble position, he started to challenge me that, my friend, he's a Brahmana, he's come from a Brahmana family, he's born Brahmana, he is this, he's that, he says so many things. I was just looking at him. I allowed him to finish what he wanted to say. And I said, my dear friend, you are disgracing the Brahmana, the Varna. You are disgracing the Varna, the Brahmana Varna, because a Brahmana is supposed to be an example for others to follow. He's supposed to be a teacher of the scriptures. He's supposed to be a source of inspiration for others. So are you inspiring us with your cigarette smoking? Are you inspiring us with this behavior you're putting up here? You are actually discouraging people from following the principles of Vedic knowledge. So I gave it to him so much so that he started to beg. He saw that he admitted. He started to beg, I should forgive him, he won't do that again. And I said, you are the people who are actually bringing down the Brahminical culture in the name of Brahminism. How can you say you are a Brahmana and you are doing abominable things? You are drinking, you are smoking, you are breaking principles, you are doing all kinds of things, and you are still describing yourself as a Brahmana. So a Brahmana should not go down into the gutter to teach something which is against the Vedic principles. Then he cannot be called a Brahmana. We cannot accept such as a Brahmana. If a Brahmana is engaged in meat eating, engaged in illicit sex, engaged in intoxication, engaged in abominable things, how can he be described as a Brahmana? We cannot accept him as a Brahmana. The trade alone does not make somebody a Brahmana. Srvas Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he wrote in his book, it's a very beautiful book, Brahmana and Vaishnavas. He says that one has to undergo 3 kinds of births. It says, Sukra Janma, Sukra Janma means birth by semen. And then there is Savitra Janma, or Savitri Janma means birth by Brahminical initiation. And there is the Jagyak Janma. Jagyak Brahma means, Janma means one is initiated into the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, the Brahmanas, the smarter Brahmanas, they are satisfied of taking birth in the Brahmana families. That is the Sukra Janma. They take birth in the Brahmana family, they are satisfied. Once they wear a thread, they are satisfied. But to go beyond even the Savitra Janma, taking Brahminical initiation, taking the sacred thread from the Guru, one should go beyond that to taking initiation, Jagya Dharma, becoming a devotee of the Supreme Lord, engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord, that is actually a qualification or the qualification of a Brahmana, according to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So until one comes to the level of actually becoming a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his claim of Brahminism is null and void.
Maharaj, we have as many hands up. We have many hands up, so we take them according to how they raise their hand. So, Judge Amega, please, can you unmute yourself and ask Maharaj question?
Okay. Please accept my humble obeisance, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Amega,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, can you hear me? Okay. Yeah,
yes, I'm hearing you.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, okay. My question has to do with this. Is Brahmasta weapon the same as tender? Why I'm asking this question is, in my hometown, there is this deity that we worship that is served exactly as you describe this Brahmasta weapon. Because whenever you can be five at a spot, but whenever this weapon, we will call it a form of tender worship, when this thing is sent and we are five at a spot, it can come and take away the life of those who are the culprit among those people and go back. So I would like to know the difference between this Brahmasta weapon and tender storm or tender boat, this tender boat. That's my question.
Yeah, actually, in our African tradition, we also have a certain level of these Vedic mantras. The Vedic mantra, the Vedic knowledge, Vedic culture is the original culture of the world. It's the original culture of the world. It is mentioned that thousands of years ago, or maybe millions of years ago, the world was ruled by one culture, and that was the Vedic culture. And as the world, in fact, it is even mentioned that the landmass, according to certain activities of the earth crust, then the landmass disintegrated. There is a theory, they call it Teutonic Theory, where the movement of the earth crust caused the disintegration of the planet. And as a result, the various continents came about. And if you look at the shapes of the continents, you can easily bring them together and they'll fit like a jigsaw. If you look at the continents, the Horn of Africa can go into India and the Middle East. The South America can go into some part of Asia. North America can fit into some place. So if you look at it, it's like a jigsaw. So he said due to the movement of these plates, called tectonic plates, that caused the earth crust to separate. And so when the earth crust was separating, certain amount of knowledge, Vedic knowledge, went into the various continents. So if you go to Brazil, you will see a similarity of African culture and Vedic culture. If you come to Africa, you will see some similarity of Vedic culture. If you go to different continents, there is a remnants of the Vedic culture. So in Africa, we also have remnants of the Vedic culture. So yes, we have this Dhanu Veda. People, they still practice. People learn to utter mantras, and then they can direct weapons to people. They can direct arrows to people. I normally call it African electronics. They can chant mantras and release arrows. It is happening. And then the issue of thunder. It so happens that in my family, we also worship thunder. I have seen how thunder functions. It can kill a specific person amongst 100 people. It will not touch any other person. It can kill one animal amongst thousands of cows without killing the other cows. It can burn clothes in a box that is related to the subject without burning other clothes. It is very amazing how the thunder works. But we must understand what is the source of this thunder. The thunder is produced from the bones of the Dadachi Muni. In the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is described how the devas were displaced from their kingdom, and they had to approach Lord Vishnu, and he directed them to go and see Vishwarup. The Vishwarup had learned how to hunt it, and by that they can be protected. And then they should go and see the Dadachi Muni to beg him for his bones. And because the Dadachi Muni had performed so much austerity and learned so much Vedic knowledge, his bones have become spiritualized. They have become empowered. And so if they get the bones of the Dadachi Muni and Vishwarup could make the thunderbolt out of it, and then Indra could use it to defeat the demons. So the Vedic knowledge, Vedic mantras, Vedic system is also practiced among the demigods. So the thunderbolt is Indra's weapon. Indra uses that thunderbolt to kill demons. He uses that thunderbolt to chastise miscreants. He uses the thunderbolt to challenge his opponents. So we can say, yes, the thunderbolt is a Vedic creation. It's created from mantras. It's created from the bones of a saintly person, the Dadachi Muni. And so it has the same effect as Vedic mantras. If one knows the science of chanting some mantras, he can invoke the thunder. And the thunder, so for instance, in my place, when something is stolen and they cannot find the thief, and they were advertised enough and nobody is owning up, they use the thunder, and the thunder will find the person. He will strike the person dead, and he will put the object that is stolen in the hands of he would put the stolen thing in the hands of the dead person to prove why that has happened. So we can say that this is all coming from a Vedic tradition, for sure, except that sometimes it is misused, it is diluted, it is misapplied. These things are there because we are human beings. But actually, all these things, they have their root in the Vedic system.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. So Devarishi Prabhu wants to, his hand is up. So you can unmute yourself, Devarishi, and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you very much for the class. I wanted to ask, based on your class, you said that a Brahmana should live by, like, maybe by donation. He doesn't expect more, but is satisfied with whatever the Lord gives. But now it's like in the age of Kali Yuga, it's very, very difficult to live like that by begging or maybe
I'll call you back.
by begging or asking donation from people. Sometimes you meet somebody or ask donation from somebody, they know that, oh, maybe this person is living like a Brahmana, but the kind of response that they give to you, maybe it looks very insulting. So how can somebody live, or a person who wants to live a Brahmanical culture, live now, and also having a family, maybe they don't understand the kind of practice that you are into, then maybe they ask you for something, you say, oh, me, I live by whatever the Lord gives me, I accept it. How can a person live like that in Kali Yuga? That's my question.
Hare Krishna. This is the variation, Prabhu. Is that the variation, Prabhu?
Yes.
Answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your question, the variation, Prabhu. Yes. That is a statement of Lord Brahmana Dev. He says a Brahmana should live accepting what providence, what the law says cannot be untrue. But the fact is, there are different professions that a Brahmana can also engage in. It does not say that one should not engage in any activity. The teaching, as mentioned here, by teaching, by any knowledge of the Vedas, Jyotir Veda, Dhanu Veda, Ayu Veda, different aspects of the Vedas, Brahmanas can teach. And by teaching this knowledge, the student automatically, they support the teacher. That is the Vedic tradition. That by giving knowledge, by providing knowledge, they would appreciate, the students will appreciate the knowledge you are receiving, and they will automatically support the teacher. That is the ancient practice. But in Kali Yuga, things are a bit different. Even sometimes one teaches, but the students don't even appreciate, want to speak of, desiring to maintain the teacher. So therefore, the teacher may have to engage in some kind of profession, like we see that they do in Jyoti Veda, I mean astrology, in Jagyas, in different things, to maintain oneself and maintain the family. So it does not mean that because it is said that a Brahmana is satisfied with whatever comes by the arrangement of destiny or providence, that does not say a Brahmana should not engage in those 6 duties that are mentioned: studying the Vedas, teaching the Vedas, performing Jagya for himself, performing Jagya for others, and then receiving charity and distributing charity. So these 6 duties of a Brahmana should be able to bring him some income to maintain their family. I think the point here is we should not exaggerate. When we have an exaggerated desire, exaggerated program, then whatever we are receiving will never be enough. So the point here is one should be satisfied with whatever he receives by the arrangements of providence. Even the so-called teaching or Ayurveda or Jyotirveda or whatever we do, still it is by the arrangements of providence. One can work very hard day and night without getting anything out of it. And somebody may just do one little thing and he will get so much out of it. So we have to understand that even the so-called profession or work we are doing, it is still by the providence, it's still by the arrangement of providence. Without the arrangement of providence, we can work very hard and get nothing at the end of the day. So whatever activity you are performing, that falls within the 6 duties of a Brahmana. If that is the way you have to support yourself, you go ahead. So many Brahmins, they engage in astrology, they engage in Ayurveda, they engage in teaching, studying the scriptures and teaching, and from that, they're able to support themselves. There is nothing wrong with that. But the natural situation is that by the teaching, the students support the teacher. They give Guru Dakshin. And by that Guru Dakshin, the teacher is able to maintain himself. But the teacher must also be satisfied with whatever is within his means. He should not expand his desire, extend his desire, exaggerate his desire. Then that is where Lord Brahmana Dev is saying, if one is not satisfied with what you have, if one does not control his mind, then he can never be satisfied with the 3 wells if it is offered to him as donation. So you can engage in some activity that is within the 6 duties of a Brahmana, and whatever income you're able to get from there, you can maintain your family and you can serve Krishna very nicely.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Well, we have a great Saturday, Prabhu Sans. Prabhu, please, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Prabhu.
As usual, thank you very much for the amazing class.
Thank you for giving the opportunity.
My question has to do with lessons from the scriptures.
Okay.
What are we to learn from Mother Draupadi's attitude towards Ashwatthama? Because she is saying that Ashwatthama has to be left alone because he is the son of the teacher of Arjuna. He is also a Brahmin. So,
yeah.
To me, the reasons she is giving for letting Ashwatthama go freely don't add up.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, and Srila Prabhupada also said, if a guru is not acting as a guru, you don't treat him as a guru. If a president, like our president wasn't acting as a president, he wasn't being treated as a president. So if someone is a Brahmin and is now acting as a very useless, foolish person, why do you still have to treat him as a Brahmin? Of course, it is also said that because of her good nature, so that is just her nature, but should that be like the standard for Vaishnavas, that if somebody commits an offense, especially if the person is a Brahmin, you just let him free? What are we to learn from Mother Draupadi's behavior in this regard? Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, please unmute yourself. I think you have mistakenly muted it. Maybe the network went out and mistakenly were muted. Please, can you unmute yourself? Can you? Yes.
My line is breaking.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
You can hear me? Yes. The lesson here from Draupadi is that the guru, in fact, I think just last week, Yeah, last weekend I taught the ISKCON disciple course to some number of devotees who wanted to do the course as a preparation towards their diksha. So in the disciple course, there is a statement that one has to revere the children and the wife of the guru as much as they revere the guru. So a similar question came up. That's all. You are saying that the children and the wife of the guru should be revered as much as the guru is revered. But if the wife is not behaving properly, or if the children are not behaving properly, should we treat them just as we would treat the guru? Somebody asked me a similar question. And my answer was that, yes, because we want to please the spiritual master, we should try to please his wife and children as recommended here. Because if we say that they are not behaving well and we neglect them, or we do anything against them, when the guru hears, he will not be happy. So to protect ourselves and also to get the mercy of the spiritual master, then as recommended, even if the children are rascal, the wife is not following per the standard, still for our own progress, for our own protection, we still have to show some respect to the children and to the wife, just as we would have shown respect to the guru. So the lesson Draupadi is teaching here is that even though Ashwatthama had performed these heinous activities of killing 5 sleeping children, her own children for that matter, and now when he saw that Arjuna was pursuing him and he knew that he was going to be killed, then he released that Brahmastra weapon to destroy the whole world. So he is actually a very heinous person by his character. And therefore, he deserved to be killed. But Draupadi is just teaching the lesson here that so long as Arjuna had gained from the teachings of Dronacharya, he must at all times be grateful to Dronacharya and extend that gratefulness to the family members of Dronacharya. So it is true, if the president does not behave as a president, he should be thrown out of the window. If a Brahmana does not follow Brahminical culture, why should we give him the honor of a Brahmana? Or even if a spiritual master, it is also mentioned in the IDC course, the Guru Tyaga. If the Guru is no more following, if the Guru becomes fallen, if the Guru is no more following the footsteps of the previous acharyas, he can be rejected for sure. It is stated clearly like that. The scripture says it clearly like that. But in this situation, because Dronacharya was a good teacher, good acharya, and Arjuna had gained all the knowledge of, they owe him that, and therefore, in his absence, they should offer that gratitude to his son, even though the son had committed such a grievous offense, but still, looking at Dronacharya, he should be treated with respect. And then on top of that, Draupadi was also thinking that now I am lamenting because my 5 children have been killed. For Kripi has only one child, and that is Aswatthama. So if I also allow Aswatthama to be killed, then I'm also going to put Kripi in the same situation as I am. So, and as we know, that the heart of a Vaishnava is Paradukha Dukhi. The Vaishnava does not want to see others suffer. The Vaishnava has so much compassion for everyone. So part of a Vaishnava, that even of Aswatthama by Vaishnava or as a Vaishnava. So he feels that he doesn't want to put the same pain, the same experience that she's going through on the head of Kripi, the mother of Ashwatthama. So the lesson we can learn from here is that no matter what rascal a child may be or a wife of a guru may be, but once the guru has done us some good, he has given us some knowledge, he has given us some skills, he has given us some training, we are always grateful.
Please, Mara, you can unmute yourself. I think your network went off. So automatically you become muted. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, yes.
Are we okay now? Are you hearing me?
We can hear you, Mara. Yeah.
Okay. So, my conclusion is that the respect that Draupadi is advocating here is not actually for Aswatthama, because Aswatthama has misbehaved beyond any limit or every limit. But the respect is just like a gratitude towards Dronacharya that is being extended to Aswatthama, so that Kripi is not put in the same situation as she is experiencing.
Mara, I think your network is breaking. We have
Yes.
only one hands up, so I don't know. Maybe you want to answer your because the network is going.
That is what I have to say. I don't know whether it answers it.
Yeah, Teacher Babu, I think you can just unmute yourself and ask your question, because the Mara network is going up and down. So let's see whether you can attend to your question.
Oh, can you hear me now, bro? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but Mara is not here. So okay, it's here. So network.
Am I coming through?
Yeah, yes, but his network is not strong. So let's see.
Yeah, my network is not strong today. Yes. So we can hear Keshava Prabhu.
It's really bad. Can you hear me at all, Prabhu?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
very clear.
Yes.
Sound, yeah.
Oh, Krishna. Okay, I can't get it.
Can you hear me?
No, I can't. I cannot hear Srvas Prabhu when he's speaking, unfortunately. I don't know if I can be heard.
Yeah, your network also is not strong.
It's not good.
It's okay.
My network is not good.
Keshava Prabhupada network also is not very strong, so the two is it's not connecting properly. Yes. Okay, Mara, thank you very much. So I don't know. Keshava Prabhupada, are you there? You still have questions to ask?
Can I be heard now?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. Your network is not strong, but we can hear you.
Okay, my obeisance is to Srvas, glories to Prabhupada. I just wanted to hear your perspective on this. I've heard that Prabhupada has said that both teachers and pujaris should not be taking a salary. This seems to be a little bit different from what Jayadvaita Swami and Navayogananda Maharaj have said, that devotees should not be taking a salary. I heard this personally from Jayadvaita Maharaj in Nairobi. And the second thing, I think I know the answer to the question, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. The answer why Brahmins should not be working for Shudras.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. A teacher in the Vedic system, teachers and pujaris, they are not supposed to be paid. Yeah, they're not supposed to be paid. They just receive charity. Whenever charity comes, one accepts. Yeah, that is the original standard. But as we move into Kali Yuga, things are evolving differently. Things are going a different direction. So, so we see that our pujaris in some countries and temples, they are paid. Teachers are paid. So circumstances have made these things to take place. But the standard is there. The standard is pujaris should just render unalloyed devotional service to the deities, and then one can relish that unalloyed devotional service. Our teachers should teach without expecting any salary. He just teaches as a matter of duty, and whatever comes, he accepts it for his maintenance. That is the actual standard. But as we progress into Kali Yuga, it has become a different thing, and people will not do the service unless you agree on some figures. That I will serve I will do the pujari work if you give me like this. I will teach if you give me like that. So these are the influences of Kali Yuga, and so what do? We have to accept it. But the standard is there. I know there are still some teachers who don't take salaries, and I know there are some pujaris who just live on whatever comes their way, and they're satisfied with it. So the two things are there side by side. There are those who are still living on this principle, and there are those who feel they have more responsibility because they have wives and children, and even just say, give me anything you can afford, then they cannot be able to maintain their families, and therefore they have to agree on a certain amount of remuneration to allow them to take care of their families. So circumstances is making this to happen. Now, regarding the issue of Brahmanas taking jobs from Sudras, obviously, if you allow yourself to be engaged by Sudras, then you become a Sudra. Simple. If you say you are a Brahmin, then you should engage in Brahminical activities. But if you allow Sudras to engage you, they engage you, they employ you, they pay you, then you're no more a Brahmin. You are now a Sudra Das. You're a servant of Sudras. Simple.
Krishna Maharaj, I think the scripture said that in Kali Yuga we are all Shudras. I don't know. Sometimes some people they firstly try to take position of Brahmana because maybe you should try to put more light on the qualification to be a Brahmana, because you mentioned in your class also that it's not only by the rope that make one a Brahmana. Because sometimes we firstly take these positions and instead of us to do what is needful as a Vaishnava, we are Vaishnava, we are not Brahmanas. I think so. We're supposed to do what is needful. We'll be labeling ourselves Brahmana, and at the end of the day, we start complaining and putting all the blames on ISKCON. ISKCON do this, ISKCON do that. You are forgetting that you are the one who is calling yourself Brahmana, instead of you to be a Vaishnava and do whatever is needful. So I don't know, maybe just some more light on this.
Thank you. You see, we are Vaishnavas, or we are attempting to become Vaishnavas. We are being trained to become Vaishnavas, which is much more superior to this position of a Brahmana. So for a Vaishnava, whatever is necessary for the service of Krishna, whatever is necessary to facilitate the service of Krishna, that is the most important thing for us. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta says a devotee is beyond the title of a Brahmana, because a devotee actually takes a third birth, Jagik Jarma, where he is initiated into the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whoever is initiated into the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead has taken his third birth, and that is far beyond the Brahminical platform. So it is true that as Vaishnavas, whatever is necessary to facilitate the service, we have to accept. And with the background that actually in Kali Yuga, there are no Brahmins. There are no Brahmins, everybody is Sudra. So, but we can transcend that platform and become Vaishnavas by adopting the process of bhakti. So long as we are engaged in the process of bhakti, trying to please Krishna, then we are on the platform of Vaishnavas. And so that we transcend the platform of Brahmanas. So that should be very clear, that if you talk of Brahmanas, the scripture says, Kalo Sudra Sambhava, everyone is a Sudra in Kali Yuga. So it means there are no Brahmanas. So, but by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, we have received this mercy, this knowledge, and by practicing, we can actually become Vaishnavas. And for the Vaishnava, whatever is necessary for Krishna's service, that we adopt.
So Maharaj, there's a comment in the chat room by George America. He said, I know of a Brahmana who puts his request during fire sacrifice. Is that right? That is, somebody wants to do fire sacrifice for him and is charging him, okay, you have to pay this so amount. Is it right?
Well, these are all the effects of Kali Yuga. There should not be a charge per se, you know. It should be a donation, actually. That's the standard. But you see, because in Kali Yuga, if you do also fix a figure and you say give a donation, somebody will just give you anything. So in both sides, it's from the Brahmana and his client. The client want to cheat the Brahmana, and so the Brahmana has to adopt a style not to be cheated. So he gives him a figure. But in Satya Yuga, in Treta Yuga, in Dwarapa Yuga, the Brahmana does not perform yagya and charge a fee. He performs a yagya and goes away. And it is the duty of the recipient of the mercy to reward him sufficiently. You remember the story of Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva built a house for his wife, and the Brahmanas came and performed the yagya, and at the end, he gave the house back as charity to the Brahmanas. Wow. And they were still under the tree. So in those days, Brahmanas were given sufficient reward. They were giving gold, they were giving cows, they were giving grains, they were giving land. So therefore, the Brahmana does not need to charge, because he knew that he was going to be rewarded sufficiently. But in Kali Yuga, everybody wants to cheat. So if you don't fix a figure and say, just give me donation, at the end of the day, we give you 1 naira.
Ishwara Prabhu wants to comment.
Okay, yeah, let's hear from Maha Ishwara. Ishwara Prabhu, let's hear your voice.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai. So actually, one of my good friends, Satyanarayana Prabhu, he was a very big scholar. So he wrote an article that in Kali Yuga, like we have this concept that the Brahmana has been Sudra. Actually, in Kali Yuga, everyone is a Vaishya, not Sudra. Why? Because in this age, everything is all based on money. Even in so-called Sudra, they will not do nothing for you unless you are ready to pay them. You know, so it's all about money. Politicians, the Brahmanas, the kings, everybody's all money. It's all everything is commercial. It's all based on what you can earn. You know, you try to take a rickshaw here in Vrindavan, the rickshaw will be arguing with you like anything. It's not going to be satisfied. It's not going to say, oh, I'm a Sudra, so I don't need money. No. He's ready to charge you as much as he can get. So in Kali Yuga, people actually, everyone basically, it's actually what they call it, it's a money principles. So that's the nature of Kali Yuga, you know.
Yes, thank you very much. This is interesting. Everybody is a Vaishya in Kali Yuga. Thank you.
Yeah, not so much. Because you're so-called Sudras, unless you are ready to pay them, they're not going to do, they will not do no work for you. So you have to be able to pay them, you know, good money.
So Maharaj, we understand the Prabhu say everybody is a Vaishya, but what about the scripture say that Sudra Shambhavan? So what does that? How can we balance this? If his friend, his scholar, is trying to contradict the scripture, which say that everybody is a Vaishya, is a Shudra. So how can we balance this? Although we know that everything is based on money in Kali Yuga, but I think what they are trying to say here is the mentality. So how can we balance it, Maharaj?
Yeah, so as we say, because the mentality of normally Sudra mentality is that of a low, you know, of a low, which is based on basically based on low mentality, you know. That's the overall, the underlying principle of low mentality. But in terms of the active principles, how people actually conduct their existence in Kali Yuga, everything's all based on in terms of the let's say the monetary aspects. And the person who wrote this article, his name is Satyanarayana, is a huge pandit. So he's one of the Mahant of Vrindavan. So he knows what he's talking about. Okay. So that's the reality of this age. Everything's all money. You go anywhere in the world, nobody's ready to do it. Because a Shudra is satisfied by just giving him, you know, some food to eat, some accommodation, is satisfied. But not anymore in Kali Yuga. Because in this age, everyone wants to exploit the other person. It's all based on exploitation. So if somebody wants to do some work for me and he's not asking for payment, I'll be very, very happy not to give anything to the person. Yeah, I'd be very happy. So therefore, because everyone has a cheating mentality in Kali Yuga, so therefore, this Sudra principle that just want to work for this, that doesn't work. That doesn't work anymore. So therefore, it's all based on the commercial aspect. The politician, it's all based on money. Everything is all based on money. You know, so that's the reality of Kali Yuga, and that's why it's difficult to really find the real Brahmani, the real Kshatriyas, it's very difficult to find Kali Yuga. You can't see them. You know, just like the boy was asking for the Brahmana who wants a church, because if the Brahmana does not ask for a particular fee, even though Brahmanas normally live on dakshin, that is the general thing, they live on dakshin. But people, they are willing to just, hey, do your sacrifice and just go. They don't want to do it. They don't want to maintain the Brahmana. The Brahmanas are not maintaining Kali Yuga. That's the thing. Just like here, we are selling books here in India. People, they want religious book for free. They don't want to pay for it. They say, give it to us for free. They say, no, why should we pay for it? Because it's something religious. They don't want to pay for it. So that's the mentality. So therefore, everything become, commercial consideration has to be there. So people have to ask for, they have to ask for their particular needs. I mean, normally Brahma. I mean, I know all the Brahmanas here. They don't. It's not that they don't look for so much, but they need something for existence. Yeah. So if people are not ready to provide for them, so they have to find some other ways, because that's the nature of Kali Yuga. Because everyone wants to take advantage of the other person.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your comments. We appreciate that. So is this Srvas Vanacari Maharaj? So any other thing you want to say, or we call it a day?
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to render some little service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So please let us all unmute ourselves and chant one powerful Hare Krishna mantra to appreciate His Grace Srvas Vanacari.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.